Hello there. What's going on, everybody? This is another episode of Double Critical, and this is the first movie episode. Joining me, as always, is my buddy Sean, Prehistoric Painting. Sean, how you doing, Sean?
Doing good. Another fun day.
It has been a very fun couple of months of not doing anything. I haven't seen you in months.
I know it hurts right here, man.
It's very strange, man. I'm so lonely, but at the same time, like, part of me is like, I think part of my psyche has started to accept things as the new normal. And
yeah, that's true.
Well, it's like, because you and I are both veterans.
Yep.
And we've both been on deployments, and at a certain point, a deployment begins to become normal. And
I distinctly remember it, like in Afghanistan, like things that would have like shock and awed me, like in the beginning, like does not bother me in the slightest.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing, and this was the thing in Iraq, because I went with the 4th Infantry Division to Iraq, and at the very beginning, when we didn't know how long we were expected to be there, and that's that was the hardest part, was not knowing when it was going to end, if it was going to end, and so a lot of that was really what made it all tricky, and I feel like there's a lot of that lumped into this, and except it's not just us. There's like nobody for you to write home and be like, "You're not going to believe how crazy it is here," because the whole planet's in the same. Yeah, it's just like, boy. Like, we need to really put a colony on Mars so we have somebody to write about when there's another pandemic, so we can be like, you guys, you're not going to get this message for 7 days, but wow.
You won't believe.
Yeah. or is it 7 days, or is it, I don't know how long it takes to get a signal to Mars. Maybe it's 45 minutes.
I think it's a lot long. Like,
I think it's like 45 minutes.
I would, yeah, because we're freaking in Florida too. We should know this because of NASA.
Because all people in Florida work for NASA. Way to be statist, Sean. All right.
Sorry.
So this is the Rogue One episode of Double Critical. So getting back on topic here. If you guys have watched other episodes of Double Critical, one of the things we do here is we talk about things that maybe we'd like to see. There's some speculation, there's some theory crafting, and wish listing that kind of go into a lot of our episodes. But this one is going to be more along the lines of looking at a movie. We're kind of moving into a phase where we're going to go through the different movies, and these are actually up for. This was voted on by Patreon for this to be the first movie we talked about. And it's kind of a harder movie to talk about for Legion, because like there's all the stuff you want is already here, right?
Yeah.
So I think most of what you'd want is already in the game, but there's probably still a few things.
There's definitely a few, and I say too, like, this is Rogue One was one of their definitely more actual, like, Star Wars, the wars oriented films. Like,
yes,
there was more combat, and there was more, like, you saw some like in Return of the Jedi, but like Rogue One really filled in that military filter.
It definitely did, in a lot of different aspects too. You had like the planes, which was like the air battle on Scarif. Yep. You have the naval battle, which was the fleet battle above Scarif, and then of course you had the ground battle, and so you had all of those.
And special forces on different planets and like political machinations. It's
it's one of those movies that's really cool to go back to and watch again. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is like, what do we want to see from Rogue One? Like, after watching Rogue One, what are some things that you think could also show up in Legion? Like, they're probably done for right now with adding stuff from Rogue One, because I think most of the stuff, or maybe not totally done, but because we just got another Rogue One wave. Yep. We've already had Jyn and Krennic and Pathfinders and Shore Troopers and Death Troopers, and now we're getting Cassian and K2SO. So you're like, well, what more can they really do? And so I think that's one of the things we're going to be talking about today. Also, there is some, and this is something I kind of want to talk about. There's some talk out there that Double Critical is just, and a lot of it comes from the people who may have just listened to like the first 5 minutes of the very first episode, where I was kind of summarizing in grandiose terms, like, we're talking about how we wanted to be different than other podcasts, and how other podcasts will talk about, like, hey, we just got a new article about X, and that's all they're going to talk about. And if you listen to all of the podcasts, I'm not going to say they all say the same thing, but there's a familiarity between them, and that like everybody's going to be talking about the newest hotness on this, at the same week. And so I wanted Double Critical to be something that was just, in the Legion family, but just different. So if you just, if you've already heard all you need to know about the latest, like when they announced Anakin Skywalker, let's just say, because obviously they're going to do Anakin, right? That's all anybody's going to be talking about. And so, like, we will be talking about something else. So if you get overloaded with the newest stuff, that's one thing you can tune in here for. But also, it's there's talk that we're like, we're only going to talk over the top, crazy, ridiculous things. And it's like, well, that's only half of the story, because sometimes it's fun to talk about the crazy, ridiculous things. But what we try to do here is take those things that are those wish list things and kind of ask the question, how could it actually happen, or could it even actually happen, and if so, how would that happen? How would it be balanced? We talked about AT-ATs, a little bit, like how could you actually do something like that?
I think even our first discussion with Maul, like trying, like, hey, we don't want him to be too overpowered. What limitations can we put on this? It's exactly. We have a great ideas, but you got to think everything's possibly doable, and that's why we want to talk about it.
Exactly, and that's what points are for. Whether it's just increasing the point structure or something, or giving something drawbacks, or something like maybe an AT-AT, just making it a terrain piece. There's options. So it's not just completely over the top crazy shenanigans, but it's taking. It's starting with the premise of what might be over the top and how could we tone it down enough to actually make it work with Legion. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I know there are some folks out there, who you are, that like to just say like, well, I wouldn't really listen to them because they're just crazy. So crazy is only half the battle, right? Yeah. And the other half is knowing.
Oh God.
Dad joke. But yeah. Okay. So, with that said, we're going to be going into Rogue One, and I think this is one of your favorite Star Wars movies, isn't it, Sean?
Oh, it is actually. I think it is. I think it's my first. Like, before that, I think New Hope it's New Hope or Rogue One, then like New Hope.
Really?
Wow. Emperor Strikes Back is good, but I don't know. New Hope was it was fun to me.
Yeah, I really.
Rogue One is definitely my favorite.
Which one? The Rogue One is definitely your favorite?
Yeah. Definitely my favorite.
Well, that people would never know that if they watched the lists you run in our battle reports, right?
Yeah, no, I don't care about Pathfinder at all.
Yeah. So I liked Rogue One. I mean, it's if you're a Star Wars fan, it's hard not to like Rogue One. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, it's hard not to like Rogue One. Rogue One did so many great things. I've said this once or twice. I think I've said this to you in private. My only problem with Rogue One is that, like, one of the things I love most about Star Wars is the big ship, the fleet battles, because we don't get a whole lot of that. And Rogue One gave us the best fleet battle, in my opinion, especially the best scene. Like with the Star Destroyers crashing into each other. It was just
the hammerhead.
Yeah, that was just brilliantly executed, and that was like. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, and so I loved so much about that. The last half hour of Rogue One, that I have a hard time watching the rest of the movie, like rewatching it, because I just want to jump to that final half hour. When you have a movie that's great, but then at the end it becomes so much better. Then when I watch the movie again, I'm like, are we there yet? I want to get to the good part, So it kind of. It's unbalanced to me.
It is. It does a little bit more of a slow roll, which I see where you're coming from. Like it's tough because like the ending is so good. There is just so many iconic scenes. Like we're still talking about Vader's scene to this day. Like it's one of the best Vader scenes. That space battle, like it tops its own. Like so there's so many different things going on in that.
Yeah, I think it beats Return of the Jedi.
The bottom level.
And Return of the Jedi was for the longest time the greatest space battle of all time. And I mean, objectively, you still could argue that it definitely is, because considering what they had.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like amazing. But but in a vacuum, like I think like definitely that Rogue One space battle is just my favorite thing ever. So and I mean the ground battle's cool too, and and all the other stuff is also great. Of course. And obviously for here we're going to be focusing more on like ground battle type things, but it's not restricted to that. So like, I mean, for example, I think somebody like Admiral Radis, right, could be if we want other Mon Calamari characters, right?
Cool. Yeah,
he's somebody that you could. I mean, I would be fine with having any Mon Calamari, characters that are not just a nameless,
nameless sniper.
Yeah, exactly. I would rather like a named Mon Calamari character. That would be awesome. I'd love to have that.
I think if for all the lore that we put on them for being like these tactical geniuses, they really need to have it. Like having Radis, like he's kind of got that very gruff. I'm gonna like Patton. He almost feels like the Patton of Mon Calamari, where he's on the field taking it to the enemy.
Radis seems like a better fit for Legion than Akbar does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he just seems like, and it's probably. I don't even think I have any canonical evidence to back that up, other than the fact that he was in Rogue One. Yeah, like I think that's the.
He's cool. He's one of the first times we ever seen like a different colored Mon Cal too. So like, there's hobby aspects you can take with it as well.
That is true. But I want to bring up something really interesting. That I think people who already play Legion and people who might be thinking about this either aren't really that concerned with, or maybe I'm overthinking things, and you let me know.
Okay.
But when you rewatch Rogue One, the opening scene, they're on the farm. You've got Galen Erso, who's a farmer, and you got the little baby Jin, and then Lyra, and and Krennic flies down in that shuttle, and he's got Death Troopers with them, and so this is like 20 years ago, or perhaps. Perhaps about 15 years ago, right? About 15 years.
Okay. Oh, movie time. I'm thinking like Rogue One. No, Rogue One was like...
No. Like, but before the time of Rogue One, which is literally the day before Episode 4, so the day before 2 days before the Battle of Yavin, right?
Yep.
So about I would say approximately 15 years before that, because Little Jin is about 5 or 6, something like that.
Yeah, I think like 7. I think
she might be 7 or 8. But so between 12 and 15 years prior.
Yeah.
You've got Krennic coming down onto this planet, and he's got Death Troopers with him. And so that tells me one thing, because we already have Death Troopers in this game. But that tells me that Death Troopers aren't a new invention at the time of the Battle of Yavin. Right? It tells us that we've had Death Troopers.
Rebels too. We kind of saw that with Rebels too. They've been around for Rebels.
We did see them in Rebels, but Rebels is certainly a lot closer to the Battle of Yavin than that opening scene in Rogue One, which is a lot closer to maybe Episode 3 time frame. Okay. So it tells me they probably had Death Troopers for like a 20-year span at least. And so it makes me wonder if there's not additional like variants of Death Troopers that could be explored. If there was have Death Troopers stayed exactly the same for like 15 to 20 years with no upgrades, and if not, the Death Troopers we have in game right now, are those like beginning of movie, like little Jin Erso, little 5-year-old Jin Erso Death Troopers, or are they Death Troopers from from the Battle of Scarif? Because there's a 20-year or 15-year technology difference.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point. So like you think like prototype Death Troopers, and actually you're making me think of the Thrawn book. And guys, if there's any if anyone listening, spoilers for some of the Thrawn books, real quick. They have what's his name has a detachment of like Under Armour Death Troopers that go with them on that planet. They had a very special that was more Special Forces strike team vibe too.
No, I agree, and they were named, or at least they had fake names.
Fake names.
I don't remember their fake names, and that was in the most recent Thrawn book, where there were those two guys they were Hunky and Frankie or something like that, or whatever they were named. That's not what their names were, but and they were cool, like they actually were human, and they had a little bit of a person. Mandalorian. Then they were in the Mandalorian. They were in the Mandalorian, yeah.
So that's still like,
that's
30-year difference, or like
they were old. They're like, all right, but so that, I guess that's my point, is like, is there room in the core? I'll call the core of Death Troopers for there to be variations, and could we potentially see a different type of whether it be a prototype Death Trooper that might be cheaper, or maybe just additional maybe just an extra couple of Death Trooper uniques, to add like those guys from the Thrawn book, for example.
Yeah. So I actually know. I don't think you're off base at all, man. I think having uniques would be really cool. I think prototypes are also really cool as well because, or not prototype, but like early core. And then what I think it opens up to is what I don't know if they've kind of already done it with the Trooper pack, but like the Stormtrooper Corps has always had like different environmental guys. They've had like snow troopers or environmental troopers. They weren't just snow troopers.
What happens when you send Death Troopers to Hoth? What do they wear, right? Exactly. So, and also, if we want to take a rewind into a different lifetime, back when before Legends was Legends, when it was just the EU, any character you ever saw in any film would eventually have their own story written about them, and they'd be a named character and all this other stuff. So that means every Death Trooper we saw in Rogue One probably is a name and a story just waiting to be written that will eventually show up one day too. So there is that, but I know that's kind of a cop out.
I have all the Bounty Hunter and Bar. I remember the Tatooine Bar books; those were really good.
Those were, and I was like, I never knew IG-88 actually had control of the second Death Star.
That one was a little much. I don't think you're far from it. I think it's something that what Legion has available to it to have more expansions is that, hey, this is the Sand Trooper Corps. This is the Snow Trooper Corps. Like you can just make an environment. Mud Troopers. I mean, actually, that's a different movie, but there's ways for Empire to keep releasing units and just call it. This is because Star Wars only has one environment per planet. This is so-and-so's planet Stormtroopers.
They've kind of gone into that, or we kind of went into that a little bit with the Trooper, or the expansion pack. I think was it episode 2 or episode 3 that we did, where we were kind of talking about that.
War Corgis, I think it was 2.
Yeah, and that's another thing they could always do. Also, like they could just do like, hey, we want some more Royal Guards, but we don't want to do a whole expansion, so let's just do a Special Forces expansion that has 2 more Royal Guards and 2 more Death Troopers, and then boom.
Exactly. And I think Death Troopers would be having more uniques for them would be because generally you only see. There's a very good case for like the compelled Death Trooper, but you always see the DLTs because they're so strong.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of that compel. I think we're going to see a lot more of that compel guy soon. Especially, well, also, with when Iden Versio comes out, I have the feeling. Because she's Courage 3, right? So
Courage 3, and she gives Special Forces. Yeah, she's gonna make Death Troopers all sorts of crazy good.
Yeah, I think her and I think that could work out really well. All right, so
so from the beginning, we're talking. You talk about the Death Troopers. In 15 years ago, in the beginning of the movie, you also have when Jyn is arrested for whatever she was. They're on those like tank troller things.
The Juggernauts.
The Juggernauts, maybe I can see Juggernauts because it's weird because they would be such a maybe like make a different movement base for them or something because they'd be kind of cool.
So the Juggernauts are I don't have a size scale because that was something I had wanted to talk about also. I feel like the Juggernaut is in the ballpark of an AT-AT as far as size.
I remember EU, yes. I remember them being really freaking big.
Yeah, they're. And there could be variants. I haven't done all my homework on like on everything in Wikipedia about like how many nomenclature models of Juggernaut there were. But
you don't know the VVI-5 versus the VI-45.
Right, exactly. But yeah, no, the Juggernauts would make for an awesome vehicle, and so I'd love to see that. And also, it would give us a great opportunity for like different transport variations because we got those 2 transports pretty early, and I don't really see people using them as transports a lot. Like there's a case to put like snow troopers on a tank and then drop them first turn, to get them in position. And so like there's that, but like the Rebel version, for example, is like really. Not
the limit to 1 passenger makes it rough. Yeah, this is coming from a Rebel player. It's either an R2-D2 transporter, a Luke transporter, or a weird Wookiee transporter to get him some wounds without getting overly too many wounds.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Actually, the R2-D2 is actually a really cool idea. I had never even thought of that. That never even crossed my mind. And
make sure he doesn't have C-3PO.
Well, yeah, you'd have to run him by himself, but I mean, geez, he's got the wounds. You could just dash him across the.
Oh, and then repair him once he gets off, or repair the thing.
Yeah, he has to get off to repair the thing though. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's a really cool idea. But all right, so but yeah, so I would love to see more like a vehicle or also transport closed. I think it could
Yep.
offer that. Same thing with
Yep.
the AT-ACT. The walkers that we see in Rogue One. Those are
Aren't
apparently
they
those are
smaller, right?
no, I think those are bigger than the AT-AT.
But they're meant for cargo loading because they have those big things on the side, right?
They have the orange doors in the side.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to tell them apart. But I believe the size they are actually like 10 or 15% larger than the AT-ATs you see on Hoth. But they're huge, right?
Hmm.
I think they talked a little bit about like if they were going to do the really really big stuff that they might do them in a different scale and if they're going to scale things down, then I think the AT-ACT is and the Juggernaut also is totally viable.
Were there any normal AT-ATs on Scarif? I can't
No,
remember.
I believe they were all the orange door version.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that like so? Again, this is kind of maybe some of my ignorance thrown through. Was that like the prototype for the AT-AT, or is that like the special cargo AT-AT?
So I believe it was just adjacent to it. I don't think they
Okay.
were. I don't think one was like before or after. I think it was just had a different function. So
Okay.
like the difference between like an M1A2 Abrams tank versus a Bradley. Both
Gotcha.
combat vehicles, they just have completely different roles. So
Now the tank fandom's going to kill us because like they're complete. I don't know.
I mean, I could be wrong about that. That's a little bit of speculation.
And I could see I actually know what I could see the ACTC whatever the one from Rogue One being a bit more viable because it seemed a bit weaker. Like it responded to like the base shooting a rocket at it. It took a hit. So like I think there's more like it seems under armored. So maybe it could be the version you see in Legion because it's not as strong.
Could be. There's been some interesting homebrews for AT-ATs lately, and I love some of the ideas that people come up with. Like I saw one that had thick armor, so it had normal armor, but in addition, it rolls extra dice for however many impacts are in the attack pool. So, like basically, if you've got impact 1, and then you get like 2 crits, I roll my 2 dice plus 1 because you had impact 1. So.
Yep. Then we have to have white dice then, because that could get real.
Well,
crazy.
Well, though it might be red dice if that armor's too thick for blasters, and it's supposed to be really.
That's true. Okay.
It's possible.
I see it.
But what it doesn't really defend that well against, if you went with something like that, would be like critical X, critical 2. Okay, well it's not impact, and I'm going to get all those hits through. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay.
Or anybody with surge to crit naturally, so which means like Luke Skywalker.
Or clones with fire support, if they do it right.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't Popeye surge for crit?
Wait, no. None of the clones have offensive surge, but if they get close enough and you have the frag grenades.
All right, right. I'm trying to think. Well, like if doesn't Rex surge for crit, right? Rex?
No, I think Rex has surge to hit.
I can remember.
I don't think Rex has surge to. Yeah,
Okay,
you know what?
If you had like a character that surge for crit, which we don't know yet,
Yeah,
I think Anakin would definitely have surge for crit. No,
well, actually, a lot of Jedi don't. Like Darth Vader doesn't have any offensive surge.
I think it's meant to keep them fair. I understand why.
Yeah. And Rex does actually have surge to crit. Yeah, you were correct.
But yeah, fire support off that could. I mean, again, we're mixing like the Rogue One with them, all that. But in terms of gameplay, that could be a way like you can balance it out. Where that thick armor, for something that surge to hit or crit, easy.
So maybe that's pretty interesting. So speaking of big things, I want to talk about something else that's big that I think has a more realistic chance of actually showing up, and that's going to be your helicopters. And what I mean by helicopters is performing that aerial transport, kind of like how a LAT would act in the Clone Wars. And for this movie, it's the first one that comes to mind should be the U-wing.
Yeah,
I feel like a U-wing should absolutely be in this game. 100%.
Oh, I didn't even. I did not think of that one, and it sounds so cool to me right now. Like with a side gunner and having like a side. You only get to be the first. Only can fire out side art.
It's an aerial. Yeah, it's an aerial transport. It probably wouldn't have. I mean, you might be able to equip it with a hard point front weapon, right? Because maybe its main front gun is only aerial and it's only shooting straight. So maybe you could give it a hard point that shoots front, but basically you'd have the crew to shoot out of the side arc. But or you just run it as a transport. Like you could make it moderately cheap and only increase its cost if you put gunners on there. Right? Maybe you're running it as just a transport. Like have this be something that fills two completely different roles. Like a helicopter gunner or helicopter transport.
That's
that
could be really fun. You see, I could see that like in a Grand Army game that can make it really
it would be really super fun. And here's the thing, it could give the rebels that transport for a whole unit as opposed to just one mini, because it makes perfect sense for them to drop off a unit of Pathfinders, right? Like you see in the movie. You might even be able to put 2 units on there, but for game balance, that might be broken. So we'd have to see.
It'd be probably like, because then you say when a wound happens, who do you give the wound to, or does both units take the wound? And because if the vehicle gets wounded, then the unit inside gets wounded.
That's an easy rules reference update. I think they could, my guess is each unit on there would take the wound, and that's the risk of putting too many, people, and that's a realistic risk. But also you have like the TIE Reaper, which is the Imperial's version, the one, but that has the landing, ramp in the front as opposed to on the side, so they would function very differently. And and so I could see both of those like getting something like that.
That seems like to me that'd be like, because they didn't really have any crew slots on that. That'd be a very straight up transport via like the.
Well,
see, that's where I think
they have it in. I mean, they have both vehicles in X-wing, and they both have combat values, but for the most part, they're kind of support ships, and they're not really like super maneuverable combat ships. Although the Reaper is more maneuverable than the U-wing.
You know what you could do? You have the U-wing pack. You can make Bistan as one of the gunners, and have a unique like Pathfinder, like more Pathfinder units within the U-wing pack, like more unique leaders and things like that.
That's actually pretty interesting. I could see, but then if they're going to do that, then they'd also have to come up with minis. The problem is a U-wing. I'm thinking logistically, a U-wing might be very expensive.
That's true.
Yeah, I think you might be looking at an $80 expansion. Yeah, because it could be a lot of plastic. I mean, if the Death Star bunker was that expensive, you might be looking at a really expensive, type of transport. Now they would probably do it in a scaled down, because the U-wing is actually kind of big. Like the Hasbro toy, or I think it's Hasbro, like the one for 3 3/4 inch actually works really, really well with Legion. A lot of those 3 3/4 inch ships aren't actually to scale with the 3 3/4 inch figures. They're actually more to scale with something like Legion, although the proportions are a little weird to make the action figures fit. But they're actually very, very close. Like that Millennium Falcon that I have that we've used in some of the battle reports is awfully close to what a Falcon should be for Legion. Except some things are warped a little bit to make figures fit in them. But I think you do something like that with the U-wing. You've got to take the scale down a little bit, because if it's like 2 feet long like the U-wing is, it's not going to work. Especially if you want it hovering above the ground. I've said this before. You make them smaller for anything that's hovering above the ground. It's going to look smaller if you look up in the air anyway. It's just going to feel thematic.
Yeah, I think too, like, because I'm thinking like Pressways, because I also play Games Workshop stuff. They have like aircrafts and like big chunky aircrafts and all that, and those generally run like $60 to $70, $80. So I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I could easily see a U-wing. But the thing is, if you start adding more minis, because you talk about Pathfinders, if you're going to add some extra like generic, or even, I think Pathfinders need a generic.
Yeah. I'd say make them unique, or make them how they are doing with like the new, like you can build this either one way or other with the Inferno Squad and the Orions.
Yeah. So, but if you're gonna put extra minis in there, and I don't think you want to do that for that type of expansion,
that's true.
Just because you don't want somebody who doesn't want that to feel like, oh, I've got to buy this $80 expansion because I want my Pathfinders to be able to have access to this one unit. So,
I think I talked about too. I didn't want that to happen either.
Yeah. So it's a cool idea. If nothing else, it'd be kind of cool if I had alternate sculpts for some of those, like a different Bistan head or a different Bistan arms. That if you want to build him on the gunner there, or you could swap him for your other Bistan. Some little like visual perks would be cool. Fluff things in there.
So something we've talked little bit about this before in other episodes.
Yeah.
But so you're talking about starships in Legion scale.
Right. And this is a good episode to talk about that, and because they were used as bombing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking in my head, like, how do you treat like armor? How do you treat the speed? Like, do you call it speeder 2 or speeder 3? Like, what do you say then? Because like it's I think they go a lot faster. I think they're a lot tougher because they're meant as lore wise. I think they're meant to designed to take bigger hits than they like, especially U-wings. I think U-wings were like the workhorse for the most of the
U-wings are pretty tanky, especially if you compare them to like X-wings and in X-wing. And usually the base stats for these games are at least in perspective with each other. Yeah, you're not going to find like a U-wing that dies instantly where a TIE fighter is tanky, right? In any game. So like,
oh god, I hope not. That'd be so sad.
Yeah, unless it was just a really lucky TIE fighter. But no, so yeah, I think I thought about when Legion was first announced, like how would they do once we learned the scales? Because I always wanted a game like Legion to be in the X-wing scale, so you'd have like really tall. Yeah, like you might not have even had individual infantry, but if you did, they would have had to been. You remember that game Joan of Arc, which was like a 10mm game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, something kind of closer to that. So this way, in AT-AT would only have been maybe about 4 or 5 inches tall. Would have been fine. You could have had you could have truly replicated the Battle of Hoth that way, and you wouldn't have to worry about your aircraft because you've already got X-wing. You make the two game systems kind of separate, but totally compatible if you want to do a combined arms map. And I think that would have been really fun, but that would not have competed with Games Workshop. So
yeah.
But or maybe it would have. Probably not.
Though. I think Legion's got going for it is that the characters and the models have so much more personality. You get more attached to them hobby wise.
Pardon me. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The hobby aspect is 100%.
I've seen the Joan of Arc models, and I tell you right now, I just like you painted them, which kudos to you, buddy, because I don't think I would have the patience. I didn't.
I didn't fully paint them. I only put
the monochrome.
Yeah, I did a little bit of I did a dip on some. I did some contrast paints on some, but I wasn't gonna actually go through all of that.
Yeah,
I could see doing that though. It'd be easy for stormtroopers because you could just put a Nuln Oil on them, base them in white, and just dip them in some Nuln Oil and just call it a day. But no, but instead of talking about the game that I wanted, let's talk about the game we have, which is Legion. Yep. I think if you're gonna do some of the bigger stuff, you got to scale it down. Any type of aircraft, if they do aircraft, I think you'd have to scale down the model size because again, an X-wing is going to be large. A snowspeeder's already expensive and is like half the size of an X-wing. An X-wing is kind of small.
Yeah.
I mean, what makes more sense to me than an X-wing? I mean, I like a U-wing, obviously, but a Y-wing makes a lot more sense to be doing bombing runs.
Yeah, it's true. I think they did, and they had like Blue Squadron doing that during the battle too. They were helping out.
Yeah, well, they were also shooting like the AT-ACTs and stuff like that, and that was cool. Yeah. But I feel like for most of the stuff that we're likely to get, some type of command card serves the purpose of an airstrike better.
Exactly.
Than an actual physical model that's only going to be on the board. Like it would have to be like 2 compulsory moves or something, and you might need to invent a whole new range ruler. Like this one's speed 4, and it goes like 12 inches per move.
Yeah,
and it's going to be on the board for 2 turns before it flies away because it's so fast.
I think that's the benefit of the U-wing though, because it has that dual mode of where it was like kind of like that hover flight thing.
Exactly. So that's what it's basically. The analogy is a helicopter versus a jet.
Yes.
Right. And so helicopter, and there are multiple vehicles that serve that helicopter role in Star Wars: the Kashyyyk gunship, the LAT, the U-wing, the TIE Reaper.
And thing from Rebels.
The thing from Rebels. Yes, that transport they use. And I think if we get one for the Empire, it'll probably be that before it's the Reaper, because that one makes a lot more sense. But,
yeah, I think it is too.
But either could work. Speaking of X-Wings, another guy I think that would work really well on the ground, General Draven. And General Merrick. There's 2 generals. All right, so just for you guys who are watching, General Draven was like the blonde guy back at Yavin Base who
Intel
was
guy, right?
he was the one who basically, yeah, he's like, Captain Andor, let me talk to you. If you
Yeah,
see
okay.
Galen Erso, you kill him. Like that. He was like that ruthless kind of savage. I have a
Yes.
feeling we'll probably get a little more from him in the Cassian Andor show. Yeah,
Yes.
maybe. Since obviously that was filmed recently. But yeah, so he's a great option since he's actually a general, was leading people. But another general, General Merrick, he was like the blue leader, the big mustached guy,
Okay.
the guy that was blowing up the ACTs, like we were just talking about.
Yep.
And so he was also present for the ground battle, just because he wasn't on the ground. Although his
I got
X-wing,
it.
his X-wing did kind of go down. We saw an explosion. We don't know if he ejected first. He might have actually had boots on the ground for a few
The
minutes.
whole planet blew up too. So
Well,
spoilers.
not only like half of the planet.
The half that mattered blew up.
Maybe he had a surfboard and he just rode that tidal wave to the safe side.
That actually sounds really cool. Like an X-wing. I want to make that model. An X-wing pod on a surfboard.
Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. Yeah,
The surfboard is like part of the X-wing wing. So
yes, I got it. And he's holding his last proton torpedo, and it says Scarif or bust.
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah.
But okay, I didn't think about it, but yeah, I could definitely see him in there.
Yeah. So General Merrick, he seems like more of like the people's commander. He smiled more, where General Draven was all business.
You know what I see with Draven be really cool is that maybe he can give secret mission to certain units because he's the intel guy.
That's a beautiful idea. And maybe there's even a bluffing mechanic where they don't know who's got the secret mission.
That would be so insidious. Like, you don't know who it is. I'm just going to rush your whole line.
Of course, there is always the risk that could create a negative play experience. Like, well, you got all these guys coming to, I don't even know who I have to kill now. This is not fun anymore,
Well, you show your hand, like, okay, if you have a unit that's moving steadily closer, like, okay, I think that might be it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but you might move like 3 different units that way, and then cause somebody to try and commit to one. So I could see that being a thing, but it would be something you'd have to be really careful with, because you definitely don't want to create an experience that gives somebody a feels bad situation just because you can.
I see that. It sounds really cool though. Is the thing.
I know.
Or maybe you could let's see how can you do it. Oh, maybe just one secret mission then, and like I don't know.
Or maybe he takes somebody who's got a secret mission already and amplifies it.
Ooh, okay.
This way you already know who it is. I don't know. I mean, you can just go with the whole mystery. Like maybe you mark 2 characters and one of them has secret mission, one of them doesn't, and this way you only have to.
So I was intel when I was in the military, and we were never the most charismatic people, to say the least.
Mm.
But so him as a general, maybe he's the first general with a leadership 1, or maybe a leadership 2, but doesn't apply a bubble because no one likes him.
Oh, you mean his courage value?
I'm sorry, yeah, courage value. It's like he's a courage of 2, but it only applies to units within like range 1 of him or something like that.
Oh,
he wasn't very charismatic. He's very secretive and
Yeah. So you might want to run a second commander in that case.
Exactly. He's a support commander.
Interesting. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. It would be kind of cool to see more commanders that were designed specifically for 2 commander lists. Because you don't really see, like, there's some that kind of work, but like he could even work with a generic. And that's the thing. Usually when somebody runs a generic commander, you're not ever running like a generic commander and another commander. Like, what would you ever want to do that? And so, I mean, short of kind of inventing some type of corner case, there's no immediate, thought.
Desire,
yeah. So like that could actually provide some kind of actual reason to do that, and that's kind of a cool idea. Another thing I want to talk about is Saw Gerrera.
Yes, I was thinking about this one a lot.
So Saw Gerrera's got I think he's got the biggest bubble of untapped potential for Star Wars Legion.
And I kind of talked about him in the last episode too.
Yeah, and I think Saw Gerrera is going to be what we talk about for the rest of this episode. So if you hate Saw Gerrera, this is you can go ahead and turn off right now. I ask that you don't, because hopefully we'll be able to sway you in some fashion.
I have more for you later. Don't worry. I got you guys.
All right, so I'm gonna let you start off. What are your thoughts with the partisans, with Saw, with all of that?
Okay. Oh man. So here's the thing. I don't think it sounds weird because we're talking about Rogue One, but Saw Gerrera and Rogue One he was hobbled, he was crippled. So I don't know if we actually want to use him. I mean, you
Mhm.
could in some ways. He again more of a support commander, but I think of like Saw Gerrera and Fallen Order, where like
Yeah.
he's more active or like in Rebels, where he's more active in doing things. And then but again, like there's those command like we talk about the Bugulit or whatever it's called. Bugulit.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I would love.
Like a command card for that, or like where you can reveal things. Um,
No, I like the idea of the Borgullet. Creatures in general are awesome, so I think the Borgullet would be super fun. I'm kind of curious what the whole thing looks like too, because I think we may have only ever seen its face,
yeah.
or I imagine it's kind of like a slug or something.
I think of it as more. This is like an octopus.
I think it's more like a slug with an octopus face.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, there's all kinds of amazing things that you can come up with if you think
and like there's so many like, and this is another one where you have more aliens in your like the Partisians were huge on like their diversity of like how like the different types of aliens, like you had the
and do we call them partisans or do we even call them dreamers, because they had multiple
wait.
No. This is, I'm not joking about something. Okay, so in the Inferno Squad book.
Okay.
In the Inferno Squad book, the mission for Inferno Squad is to infiltrate Saw Gerrera's group, and they're called the Dreamers at this point. I think this is I think this is earlier. I don't know if you read that book.
I have not read that one. I probably need to pick it up though.
Okay. Well, I won't go into spoilers because there's not a whole lot of spoilers, but
I know one of the main characters.
But either way, they're just called Dreamers at this point. I think this is before they're like a little bit younger in the timeline, before Saw is like before he's gotten quite so extreme. So before he became a terrorist, basically.
And he did have that whole like live the dream.
Yeah, save the dream, right? So that was and I mean he practically writes all his own command cards too.
Yeah.
Borgullet could be a command card for Saw Gerrera.
Oh, definitely.
And that could be some type of information thing. Like, let me take a look at 2 of your cards, or let me see your whole hand.
Yeah. Eyes, the seat.
Yeah. All right. So
I didn't realize they were called the Dreamer. I mean, it's a little.
They were in the canon timeline, but I don't think they were called the Dreamers during Rogue One. I think they were just partisans there. But
I think it's a good idea because like partisans is very neutral, because you could end up having like Imperial partisans like for renegades for later. So maybe Dreamers would be good.
Yeah, it all depends on what's most appropriate for what all you want to add in its entirety. But you definitely have a certain named characters. A lot of them have already made their way into X-Wing, like the Benthic two tubes, and like a lot. There's a couple Kolobi something. There's several named characters, plus a lot of just masked aliens and stuff like that. Yep. So they would, and like if you watch like the battle in Jeddah, you see a whole lot of just wearing cloth and stuff. So they have a unique look to them as well.
Yeah, they do. I think you take about that. I think that desert look is what makes them visually different from like the Rebel veterans, the Pathfinders, because then you have less uniforms, you have more rags, you have more robes, you have
flowing cloth can be really pretty to paint.
Oh yeah, especially. Yeah. I actually remember when the Sand Troopers being like one of my first models I like really painted, and it was fun. I'm trying to think what the big tall guys were, because I listened to a podcast with one of the main characters is one of those big tall guys, and I totally forgot.
In Rogue One?
The mask on and the big gun.
It might be one of the Two Tubes brothers.
No. It was the big almost looked like a white Wookiee.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about, because there was one of those in one of the RPG sessions that we ran.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll come to you. So while you're thinking of that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've talked about this before, but I don't want to leave it out here, and we'll talk about Saw Gerrera. Obviously, there's multiple versions of Saw they could do. You can do young Saw and old Saw. You can even go back to Clone Wars and do Saw there. But young and old Saw, or I should say middle-aged and old Saw, both work for the Rebellion, because you do see them both in the movie. I kind of like old Saw, but I think young Saw would be more fun.
I mean, because you still have the armor that looked real cool.
Or maybe you just make 2 heads. I mean, it could be as simple as that.
Well, he had a lot of he had like an oxygen tank or whatever it was.
He had if you want to make them have like be the same model and just have different pieces, you're gonna have a lot of different pieces. You have to have the breathing accessory, the gas mask. He's got like metallic legs because he's lost his legs by the time he's old.
Yeah.
And of course the head and the hair and all that. So you have a lot. It's probably almost better just to make 2 completely different models, having 2 different expansions. Plus, also, if you want to do Young Saw, you can also incorporate some stuff from Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, see, that's where he was really kicking butt.
So old Saw, I like the idea that he's paranoid.
It's called a Grigoran. It's called a Grigoran.
A Grigoran, the white Wookiee thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking of something else then. It's not what I was thinking it was.
Right. I feel bad because again, there's a podcast, an RPG podcast. Listen, one of the main characters is that, and they always make fun of like, oh, it's the white Wookiee. I'm not a Wookiee.
It's funny. All right, so here's the thing. So if I've always said I wanted Saw to have some type of
negative mechanic,
some type of negative, like some kind of terrorism mechanic, and it works better for an older Saw because younger Saw wasn't always a terrorist. He kind of got worse over time. and so the idea for Saw to have something that like some kind of powerful attack or some type of potential game-winning attack, but as a result of doing it, you have to give your opponent a victory point.
Yeah,
and so that's so there's a huge cost so you only do it like he might be useful for the strategy if you want like since they changed the game now, and this is what changes a little bit.
Yeah, the
margin of victory is now the tiebreaker instead of strength of schedule. And so if you're trying to wipe your opponent off the board, like if you're trying to table your opponent because like it's your last ditch effort, Saw could be great for that type of thing. Like I've got to go all at you, and you're either going to win or you're going to lose. You're going to win big or lose big, but you got to go all at it. And so
it's I like that where it's a neat mechanic of giving your opponent a victory point because it really makes you think. Certain objectives like the biggest one right now is sabotage the moisture evaporators. Generally, it's like a split even. You give someone a victory point, and then it becomes I have to be a lot more aggressive now to really make that to capitalize upon that.
Yes. And now that it throws the numbers off too, because you have the margin of victory is based on not how many victory points you have, but how many victory points you have out of the total that were claimed. And so by giving somebody, you throw all the numbers off too. So it's nasty.
So actually, now I'm thinking that I'm thinking outside in a sense, and it's kind of talking about tournament regulations. Mm-hmm. Have someone who has Saw and they purposely throw the games, and they give their friend an extra victory point via throwing the game. Is only that that's a very niche case.
I don't think that'll be an issue because there's already that issue, and that somebody could always just concede. And to do that, I mean,
I guess it is percentage wise, isn't it?
It is percentage wise, but also like let's say worst case like fake scenario, but let's say I was playing you, I knew I wasn't going to be able to move better in the tournament, and I wanted to prop you up. Well, if I get paired against you, instead of throwing the game, all I have to do is just play poorly. Like, I just like keep my guys out of range 1 of the objective while you guys move in, and like.
Okay.
Yeah, like or there's certain intercepted transmissions. I can just run that one and let you just get all of them. You got 100%. Oh, or maybe I get 1 for like. I don't think you have to worry about somebody potentially throwing a game because I think you already have that capability. And for the most part, people don't play that way. And we have such a good community.
Again, it's very niche. I was just thinking like it's like, oh man, this because I love the idea so much. I want to see it. I'm like, oh hey, what could the drawbacks be? And that was something that popped in my head.
That could, I understand, and it's something you have to think about when you're like, how could this be really abused? And I think it all depends on how powerful you make. If he's got some kind of, some kind of, dirty bomb attack or something.
Right. So that's something we haven't talked about. Like, what is it? Is it like a bomb you place and like within range 1 to 2 it does something? Or
I think it's some type of bomb you place. I say it has to be probably the most powerful bomb.
Right.
I say it's probably one that you can detonate instantly. Like arm and arm and detonate. I mean, by arming it, you could also detonate it right away.
Exactly.
I say you probably give it range 2. You can place it range 2, but it only blows up range 1. So he
Talking
doesn't even
about
have to
dirty
hurt
bomb,
himself.
you can make it poison or radiation or whatever it is.
It might be in the ballpark of something like 4 red and poison with surge to crit. You know, like
And blast.
probably, yeah, probably. Like that would be insane. But again, it would require extensive playtesting because
Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking because I'm thinking like terrorism wise, it's suppressive because you're demoralizing the enemy. And
no, yeah, and again, maybe 4 red is too much. Right. The idea is you'd want it to probably guarantee 2 damage, and so poison and like surge to crit, you're probably going to get that.
Yeah.
You might even need to. Maybe if it's a shrapnel dirty bomb, maybe it has pierce 1 and poison.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And blast. And then you can actually probably ignore. You can tone down the number of dice, tone down a lot of things because you have a very good chance of getting 1 damage, 1 suppression, and then 1 extra damage. And when push comes to shove, that's probably enough.
Yeah.
You might make it suppressive also.
So I'm thinking too, like you say. So I know I said range 2. You said range 2. That might be a problem. Like, okay, that is always going. It's maybe it might be predictable, and it's one of the things. But that's always Saw's turn 1 move is, okay, I'm gonna place this bomb because right after deployment, that's when everyone's clumped together. But that also forces maybe all the players, okay, maybe I shouldn't clump my units. Like this is it's a different way. You're making your opponent play a different way, and if they stick to their plan, then you was like, okay, I will capitalize upon that and use it. Or if you like, oh man, everyone's spread out, I'm only gonna get 1 unit. You don't do it. So that gives you the ability, and that's a waste of a command card in a way. If it's a 1-pip too, which I think it would be.
Well, the other thing too is if that's something a Saw Gerrera can do, and you do it early in the game, there's a huge problem with that because you tell your opponent on the very first turn of the game that they're starting out with an extra victory point. Better to wait until you have a discerning lead and then play that, or only play that when you absolutely have to. Right?
It's true.
Because if first turn of the game, you're giving me a victory point, but I'm going to lose like half of 3 different squads. Okay, fine. I can afford to actually have them run away now, and I just have to tie you. It's so much easier when I can win by just tying you. Yeah. And so I can totally alter the way I play, and now you're at a disadvantage because I have the lead from turn 1. So the concept is really interesting, but I don't have an ironed out mechanic on exactly how it works. It might be a mine that's only like 2 dice. But has pierce and poison and suppressive. I could see that like that might be. I don't know. It really depends on the range and if you get a free move afterward, you probably don't want to hit yourself.
Oh, well, okay. So see, I was thinking that you don't even have a range you deploy it at. I figure it's just like a.
Or you drop it anywhere.
Drop it anywhere.
Oh, I was thinking you can only do it like a certain range of him. If you can drop it anywhere, I think then it becomes a negative play experience.
Okay.
So if there has to be at least a little bit of, be like, I know kind of where it's coming from, so I know at least these guys are safe. You got to give your opponent like some knowledge of what is absolutely safe.
Okay, I like that. So, and I think that's why range 2 would probably be good because again, he's old
but dropping a bomb at range 2 is still stronger than any other bomb dropper, except maybe Sabine.
But yeah, this to me, it's like more of like because I think terrorism. I think it's a pre-planned bomb they set up beforehand kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe he's got the detonator, and the detonator is I can see that. Or maybe you drop 3 bombs maybe you reveal at the beginning of the game, drop 3 bombs, but he has to get close enough to them to detonate them. So where he is, that warns you. I don't know.
Oh, that could be. I mean, then he can hold down a whole objective by himself.
Yeah.
That can be like, they'd
have to be a certain distance. Maybe they have to be beyond range 2 of each other or something like that. But yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of potential you could do for like dirty tactics with Saw Gerrera. Without lingering too much on him, though, I want to talk about the other partisans and how like sub faction ideas, because I think they obviously synergize most with the rebels. But if you wanted a sub faction that they could easily stand out as a dirtier sub-faction under the rebels that might do things their own way and get bonuses or whatever.
Totally.
I want to throw a different option at you. A different version of Jin.
Okay.
As an operative, because she's commander under the rebels. And there's always something that didn't sit right with me for that. I never thought Jin should have been a commander.
I kind of agree.
So
I thought she was gonna be operative too.
right.
She wasn't very Cassian more leading. So
yes, exactly. And so I feel like Cassian and Jin are like should have been flip flopped a little bit, but
yes, I agree.
sometimes game mechanics trump other mechanics.
They were trying to get Rogue One out, and Jin's very noticeable. So, and that probably Rebels needed another commander. Blah 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 blah.
All of those things, yeah. But she had an alias in the movie of Liana Halleck, and I mean she could be Jin or so also, but you know how they have like they do the name and then they have like a subtitle underneath or something like that.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
But basically she spent some time as like Saw's apprentice and then eventually had to leave or something like that. So they could go kind of far back and they could do like teenage Jin, or they could do Liana Halleck kind of doing her own thing, who's still kind of got an affiliation with Saw, as an operative. So they could do a younger version, and she had some different costume changes and stuff. They were I think earlier, or when they were on one of the planets. She was wearing the goggles and the soft cap and stuff like that. So she had like different outfits. So there's other canon looks that they can give her.
She's actually in the X-Wing books that recently come out. She one of the main pilots, like Liana Halleck saved her or something, or like she saw like the inspirational, like she took down some stormtroopers, and that ended up being Jyn Erso. So.
Oh yeah, okay.
Crap. The one with the weird name that listens to heavy metal while she flies.
Was she from the Leia comic?
No. This is from the X-Wing books with like the A-Wing pilot guy, Alphabet Squadron.
Oh, okay.
The B-Wing girl. The B-Wing girl.
Oh, I forget the names. Is she the robot that never took off the mask or whatever?
No. She's the angry one with the heavy metal that wants to die.
Oh yeah. Okay, I remember that a little bit. Yeah,
they're actually good books, guys. So please read them.
Alphabet Squadron was okay. The ending made it justified the whole book for me, but up until like the very last chapter, I was just kind of like, I'm just kind of neutral on this book. It's building for a trilogy. Yeah. So,
and I think it was better than the one we just recently got.
Well, the last one that I read was the last book I read was episode 3's novelization, which
the one that was like right before episode 9.
Or sorry, episode 9's novelization. I keep saying 3.
The one that like kind of like prepped it up to make it like Avengers. But
the Star Wars Avengers, rebuilding the resistance, igniting the spark, or something like that. Yeah, that was a little bit
cool moments, but then so Alphabet Squadron.
It was a build up for something that never happened because they built up a whole lot of stuff that you expected to see in episode 9, and you got none of it. So. Yeah,
but no, actually, so I like it. Different operative Jyn could really work. I think I could see that too with how she was. Like she could be more. She might be more ruthless instead of bow staff. She's got a vibro knife, so she shanks people.
Maybe I like that, and but I'd love to see them all work as a sub faction. We got a lot of different dudes that Saw Gerrera has working for him, and and there's a couple other characters that could work. I'm not super great like Bodhi Rook was in the movie.
He was actually no. I could see him as an operative as well. Like I think I talked a little bit about this in one of the other episodes, but like he could be a support operative where he's like he can break up communication. Like hey, you like he can like what's it called? He's like a comm jammer, but maybe like range 1 to 2.
Yeah,
he can give out orders
if they want to come up with like a traitor mechanic too.
Yeah, it's true. Oh yeah, he turned.
I feel like this game is crying out for some type of treason mechanic where you can run somebody that's like from across faction, and if you go up against their treason faction, so it's a little bit of a gamble. I mean,
but but that's the same thing with the Ion. Ion's kind of a gamble with if you don't face against droids or against vehicles.
Right. It's a more targeted gamble, right? It's like
don't make them useless, but make them stronger against that faction.
Right. Like treason Empire, right? Bodhi Rook works for the Rebels. Treason Empire. If your opponent is playing Empire, then at the start of the game you can look at one random card from their command hand. Something like that.
Yeah. That one's really good, but I see what you're going for.
Yeah, it's just an idea. Like something along those lines. It might be less powerful. It might be like once per game you can assign a surge token to one of your units.
I think right now with the game having 4 factions, this is the time. The more factions we get, the worse that gets, but the more it becomes a reality because you like I said, you're taking a gamble, so that you can have Bodhi be not as strong, but he's there because he's an iconic character from Rogue One.
Yeah.
He the line, "This is Rogue One." Rogue One.
Yeah, no, like he was one of those characters I wanted to see more of. That I didn't
Yep.
get to see enough of. Oh, oh, I
I think
know, I know we said we'd probably be talking about Saw for the rest of the episode.
we have two more people we should probably talk about.
There are two more people we should absolutely talk about. That I, for some reason, just got skipped right
What?
over. It skipped right
Oh,
over.
I'm all ready for Baze Malbus and Sheer Dimaway.
Oh, I was thinking about those two stormtroopers that we're talking. No,
Oh,
yeah,
the one-
absolutely, Baze and Chirrut. They absolutely need to be in this game. And so I'm sure some people already stopped watching and are typing a comment. Why in the hell didn't you mention Baze and Chirrut? Like maybe the two best characters in the whole film.
Oh yeah, they were and they had a connection.
Mhm.
So you have, in terms of game wise, you have what's it called? Oh man, I can't believe we're forgetting the term. Counterpart. You have counterpart mechanics. You have you could have like not force mechanics, but like Sherwood Imwe he had uncanny luck in a certain way. Like I am one with the force, fourth is me. You don't just walk through a blaster fire filled hellscape and get away with it. I mean, he didn't, but he got up to the objective.
I think Chirrut doesn't actually get the force upgrade. Don't think
You're right, exactly. No.
But I think he gets command cards like that work as a force upgrade. Or that mirror it. Like I am one with the force and the force is with me should be one of his command cards. Easily.
And he's definitely hobby wise, you have him with his energy bow thing, or you have him with his staff, because I actually watched the clip where he beats all the stormtroopers up with the staff, and it is really cool fight scene.
That should be one of those flip weapons.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that should be a flip weapon. I think he make him the leader for sure. Baze as the counterpart because Baze protected him, right? He said there's that line where he's like, the Force protected me. He goes, I protected you. They're great. They're so great.
They were, and the thing is, he's a counterpart, but I think he has to have a lot more hit points because Baze. I think this is a power combo in the sense, or power duel because they
got 3 each.
Oh, I was going to say like 4 each. Like Baze took some hits, man.
Or maybe 3 for Chirrut and 4 for Baze.
Okay.
Like that's 7 because 7 hit points is a lot for a unit for one unit.
So, and here's the other.
I mean, you're only rivaling Vader at that point.
That's true. Okay. Well, another thing is like maybe he's not counterpart, and they do like how they did with Cassian and K2, where it's commander and operative, or like something different, like 2 operatives kind of thing.
Here's the way I view it. You get the Baze and Chirrut expansion.
All right.
You got lots of poses for them, and I think you want people to buy more than one because they're going to want multiple poses for each. You have the Baze and Chirrut operative, which is Baze is the operative, and Chirrut is the counterpart. But you also get a Baze or Chirrut heavy weapons card that can go in any rebel special forces.
Oh, okay, yep.
Or you might even change it up to where like Baze absolutely should go with special forces. You might put Chirrut with core.
Okay, I can see it.
Like it, depending on how you wanted to build him. Like maybe he's a core only heavy that increases their melee capability.
Yeah.
Because you don't have melee core, right? The rebels don't have a whole lot of melee outside of the Wookiees, right?
I was just thinking he was like he could be a force upgrade, like you get a because he has I don't know, like you can attach him to Luke Skywalker. That doesn't make any sense. So my brain's stuck on the whole like semi force thing he's got going on.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Well, I mean, I think that's just how you work the command cards. It's but it'd be nice if there was like there's a part of us that always kind of wanted to see him with a lightsaber or whatever, but I don't think you can really do that in this game. But boy, it would be cool.
He was definitely force sensitive though. Like he could see the crystal on Jin's neck, and
he was a great like back in the Decipher card game. There was always this big like there were multiple layers of like ability that characters would have, and like ability 1 was like your regular stormtrooper, and like ability 3 was like force sensitive, and then like ability 4 was like force attuned, and like you had to be like ability 4 to wield a lightsaber or something like that. I'm a little rusty on it, but basically there were like so many different tiers before you hit like Jedi capable. But the thing is there existed the tier below Jedi that was still like,
right.
You've got those heightened reflex, but you can't actually commune with the Force. Like you're
It's
aware. Like Maz Kanata is the exact same way.
yeah, that's exactly. She's got you hear the whispers, you feel it, but
You have a
can't feel
connection.
it.
You can't command the Force, right?
Yeah.
You can't interact or manipulate it, and so that's I think where Baze, or I'm sorry, where Chirrut is. And to be fair, Baze could actually be the same way also, because he used to be that way, and he kind of did the same thing at the end. Like there was a resurgence of it, and
That's
maybe.
true.
Oh man, here's the thing: if you make Baze the counterpart, that's if you want it to play out like in the movie. Normally, like counterparts have to die before the leader does, but that's not the way it worked. So here's the thing: I don't know if this could work with a counterpart, but could you make Baze the actual card and make Chirrut the counterpart, but give Chirrut the leader keyword? So while he's still the counterpart and acts as the leader, he still has to die first.
I mean, yeah, I could see that, like because
It's a weird thing where it's like one makes more sense for the rules as written, but the other one makes more sense for the movie.
I think for simplicity's sake, they're just gonna have to make Baze the leader and Chirrut the counterpart. And if you're going with that scenario,
yeah, maybe, or it could be. I mean, it could be just a special keyword they have, like you may maybe as an option you may allow like enrage.
You may replace the model unit or whatever, something like that.
Well, maybe Baze has enrage. You may opt to you may allow Baze or Chirrut to die first. If you do, or no, maybe Chirrut says sacrifice. You may die. You may take fatal wounds before an attached counterpart. If you do, give them enrage.
Right.
What
would see to me enrage would be like you can make 2 attack actions,
something crazy, right? I think that's actually a poor.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to copy Chewbacca's ability too much, but something like that. You might have to name it. Chewie's got the well, I forget what his.
Chewie's got the one where you can shoot after Leia.
No, his but when he takes a certain number of wounds.
Oh, that's right. That is enrage.
It's enrage 4. Yeah, or that's what Chewie has.
And you would call this.
Well, they what did they consider themselves? Baze and Chirrut. They were
Guardians of the Wills.
Guardians of the Wills, but there was another term that they used. No, it's eluding me right now. But yeah,
it is me.
But maybe Rage of the Wills, right?
Rage of the Wills, yeah,
yeah,
or just Rage. There we go. Just call it Rage.
Yeah, or something like that. But I think you'd want to make it a very specific type of keyword, but something that could apply to anything. Like something that you could also give if you wanted to do a different version of Chewbacca from like the sequel trilogy, like when Han dies and Chewie goes in that complete. How about Rampage?
There we go. Rampage.
But Rampage.
Not monster game.
Yeah. So no, that'd be a real fun one. I could definitely see.
Yeah, Rampage. I like that.
Yeah.
Or Berserk, or Berserk. We could call it Berserk as well.
Berserk is a really good idea. But
it would be neat because you could do that to like a melee unit, and like it still applies. They get their multiple attacks, kind of thing.
They get AI attack X2 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, or like surge to crit, or AI attack, surge to crit,
surge to double crit.
Right, I can't find my shirt. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, but no, that's a cool idea, man. That's really cool. All right, so is there anything else? I feel. Oh, I mean, there's little things, right? Like they had some of those pilgrims, those Jedi pilgrim, like they were almost like looked like royal guards with the square heads.
In
Jeddah?
Yeah. I see it. I was thinking like a lot of the Jedi, like go back to like Saw's Particians. Like I think a lot of those people were involved probably with Saw, so you could probably have like I said, like a melee focused unit of like former Jedi or Guardians of the Wills. You could call them, like you said, pilgrims. You could call them pilgrims or whatever, and that would work out good.
People throwing kyber crystals because they had all the kyber crystals there, right? Yeah, there's that. I mean, there's a ton of things I think you could. Like or that one station that they were at where Cassian had to kill that informant or whatever, and like there was a whole lot. Like if you zoom in on like all the little background people, there's so many cool aliens and droids and stuff. There's a lot of very cool stuff available. But Yeah, but I mean, but out of the things that are more recognizable, I think we've covered just about all of it. So let us know.
Oh, no, good.
Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the only thing I could think of is like this is something along the line of like objectives on that, like the scientists guys from the Empire facility. Kind of a cool objective, but that's like that's not really.
Yeah. I mean, you could do Galen Erso also, maybe, but
maybe.
Yeah, like his purpose in that whole movie was not to like.
He was MacGuffin.
He needed to die. His purpose was to die.
Yep.
And I think he did it. I think he did it.
Everyone's purpose in Rogue One was to die.
All those little fleet troopers that Vader cut him through.
Yeah, that was
a great scene. Great scene.
Have you ever seen that? I can't remember if it was like a Reddit or like some kind of post where like they were describing like, basically Darth Vader had to shut off his life support so that way he could be all dark and then turn it on. Like, so like he actually like stopped himself from breathing to be more dramatic in that scene. Like Anakin, like he does it just to be dramatic, and you can totally see Anakin be like, "I'm gonna really make it really cool."
Wow, you know what? It's like it makes you wonder. It's like I wonder if Darth Vader like at any point during the Empire like had a friend that he could like just talk to like the way Anakin would talk to Obi-Wan, and he could just be like, "Dude, I'm gonna go murder like 100 people tomorrow," and it's like, "No way, dude." He's like, "Dude."
There was actually a comic. I don't know if I think it might be you now, but there was like a clone that like thought he was Vader's friend up until like a long time. It was like, no.
I think I know what you're talking about. There was a Star Wars comic recently about a girl who thought Vader was in love with her, or she was in love with Vader, and then she got too close, and he just was like, "No, what are you crazy?" And he just like killed her, and she's like, "Oh, he loves me. He gave me his lightsaber." As she's lay there dying or something. It's just dark stuff, man. It's really dark. All right. All right, man. Well, I think that's about time to wrap it up. But if we forgot anything, let us know down in the description. But be sure to check us out if you prefer to listen. We're on Podbean and Apple Podcasts. If you prefer to watch, we're also on YouTube. Check out all of those sources, and check out Sean's Instagram. We're gonna have links for that and his YouTube page in the description below, as well as there's some other social media links and all of that. And if you want to vote on the next movie we participate in, you can always, if you want to vote on anything that we're going to be doing, that's also going to be on Patreon. I think I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. I think we have a tie for second place for what the next movie for us to talk about is with.
I haven't seen it, so I want to guess it's Solo and Force Awakens.
No, it's actually Raiders of the Lost Ark. So
whatever.
We're gonna it's the Fifth Element, which will actually be really cool.
Actually, there's some Fifth Element was pretty cool.
That's an interesting topic for you guys to think about. What would be another cool non-Star Wars franchise to bring in?
Starship Troopers
Legion. Oh, would you like to know more? All right, you guys. I want to thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.
Thank you, guys.